Welcome to Perspectives in Mobile, the news podcast from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum. Join us discussing the world of telecommunications, technology, and mobile innovations. From Florence, Ricardo Amati.
Metasurface's technology enhances the accuracy and efficiency of AI-driven systems and promises powerful capabilities for next-generation devices and applications. Welcome to this special episode of MEF Podcast Perspectives from WMC. In Barcelona, we'll talk about visual data and machine vision system with Rob Devlin, CEO of Metalenz. Rob Devlin is a scientist and an inventor, PhD in applied physics at Harvard. His work focuses on moving scientific research toward real-world applications, leading to 15 patents and patent applications.
Rob, for those unfamiliar with Metalenz, can you give us a quick introduction to the company?
Sure. So Metalenz is a company that is commercializing these metasurfaces. And what we're doing is we're able to take very complicated sensing devices that have traditionally been too expensive, and now we can bring new sensing technologies to the mobile ecosystem for the first time. So with metasurfaces, essentially what you can do is we can take a complicated camera stack that might have 5, 6, sometimes even 7 lenses in it. And with our technology, we can actually reproduce the function of those 6 or 7 lenses in one single flat layer. So this lets you reduce complexity. It lets you reduce the size, which ultimately means now you can take complicated sensing devices that have been locked in medical or industrial laboratories and put them in billions of people's hands for the first time in mobile devices.
Robert, let's take the normal photographer, right? Which uses a smartphone using your technology. What's the difference for him?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is the additional information you can get out of that picture. A normal picture, you get intensity and you get some color. But with metasurface technology, you can sense a lot more about what it is you're looking at. You can determine whether the material you're looking at is man-made or whether it's a natural material. You can determine material properties and even distinguish things like the underlying chemical makeup of materials. So it gives you a whole new information set you just wouldn't get from that standard photo that you shoot with a smartphone camera as it exists.
Yeah, is it a challenge to, are you challenging the, for example, Apple's Face ID and there's, let's call them institution in the field?
Right. So one of the ways that we're using this new information we can bring to mobile devices is we've launched a product that we call PolarID. And what this allows you to do is have a secure face unlock solution in phones that is substantially smaller, cheaper, and really more scalable than what has been out there today in something like the Face ID for the iPhone. So the Face ID and unlocking the phone with your face is a really great feature. It's very secure. It is, something very nice every time I open my phone. I'm appreciative of it. The thing that we end up doing is we allow that same level of security at a simpler module form factor, simpler size, and a much lower price point, so that now that same secure unlock can go essentially to all of the Android phones out there as well.
About the industrial angle, how a company as Metalenz is able to produce at low cost and in scale?
That's a great question. So it actually lies as a part of the technology itself. So these metasurfaces that we make, unlike traditional optics or traditional lenses, especially the traditional optics that are required in these high-end sensing devices that we're now able to bring to mobile. So we make all of our optics in the semiconductor foundry. That's one of the other big disruptions and innovations of this technology, is that it moves optics into the semiconductor foundries for the first time. And because we're working in the semiconductor foundries, we're using all of the same materials that they use to make up the image sensors or any of the SoCs that you have in phones. That same technology is used to mass produce our lenses. That's allowed us to take a technology that was essentially a university technology and then launch it at scale into millions and now hundreds of millions of units, essentially in just 5 years.
Are we looking at a future with true full screen displays?
So that's really one of the things that we see as well with what we can do with PolarID. One of the things with most of the face unlock solutions out there that are secure is that it requires a notch or an additional hole for the module in the display. So with PolarID, not only is it the only face unlock solution out there that is thin enough to really truly fit under display, or in other places where you don't find secure face unlock, like laptops, right? There is no payment grade laptop solution. So we can now, that secure face unlock in laptops, we can also put it under display because it's thin enough. And the technology itself, the way that it works, it doesn't get disrupted by any of the display material there. So it still fundamentally works under the display. So this will truly make that seamless experience of unlocking your phone with your face truly seamless in the literals.
Your listeners, you cannot see it, but there is the head of Rob here on the desk, and of course it's not his head; it's a mask. And you assure that your technology can see the difference. And so, what has your technology, which is different from other ones, and why it's more secure, or as you say?
Yeah, there are a number of things that polarization ends up giving you that makes it more secure. So, the head that we're talking about here is essentially a perfect 3D replica of my face, right down to the stubble on my face.
I must say it's pretty impressive.
But yeah, what we're able to do with polarization is that even though the 3D shape of this matches me exactly, and in fact, this 10 tricks some solutions that are out there today. So this can unlock phones that are supposedly secure and you can pay with. But with PolarID and that polarization information we get, even though the 3D shape is exactly correct, the material is different than human skin. It's very, very difficult to perfectly replicate down to the cellular level what's going on in human skin. And polarization tells you what type of material it is. So even in cases where you get the 3D shape exactly right, and it can trick solutions out there, that extra layer, that whole new information set brought to these AI systems making the decision as whether it's the real you or not the real you, so that you're in your phone, we're then able to distinguish this and reject these really high quality spoofs.
We were talking a lot about unlocking phones, but there are other applications possible for this kind of technologies. Where did you see, which fields do you see as target for your company? Don't call them targets. Let's say spaces where you can apply with success a technology like this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of technology here is that, from the general perspective, there hasn't been much new in the way of sensing in mobile devices for 10 years, frankly, since the launch of the Face ID for the iPhone. There really hasn't been much new out there. And so this new information set, one of the places that we see a bit interesting potential application is in medical application, for example. So, polarization imaging that we're doing is not necessarily new, as I mentioned, because you can go out and you can buy a $1,000 camera module that can do polarization imaging. It's just that the size and the price hasn't allowed it to go into mobile. So there are known applications from those fields already that we now can bring to mobile devices. The one in medical that is particularly interesting is that you can actually distinguish whether a growth or a mole is cancerous or not by looking at the underlying polarization signature. So now you can imagine a case where you're unlocking your phone every time. And not only is it securely unlocking your phone for payment, it's also checking to make sure that there is no skin cancer. And if it sees something, it flags it and maybe sends off a note to a doctor or for something like that. So that's one of the really exciting things here, is that there are applications that can be built on top of this type of information we're bringing in, beyond the one big application of biometrics that ultimately will get it adopted. But then there's a whole new set of information that, once it's in the hands of developers beyond what we're talking about in medical and sort of known applications, when you put this type of information in the hands of the masses, who knows what other applications will also be developed.
Looks promising. One thing that I forgot to ask you when we were talking about the industrial dimension, you made a partnership with an European big big company, the STMicroelectronics. How does it, I mean, how should it work for being really a plus for your activity, and what kind of markets do you think it can open?
Yeah. So with STMicro, we made a partnership on what we would call the first generations of technology. So this is not the polarization technology, but in this first generation of technology, STMicro has a very successful camera module that produces 80 images of a scene called the Flight Sense module. And to date, they sold something like 1.5 or 2 billion units of historically. And in that partnership, because Metalenz can simplify the overall optical stack, they've announced now that they're moving to Metalenz technology on that module going forward. So this has essentially, in partnership with ST, taken the same core technology that we're now developing for PolarID and put it into real-world devices. So the customers that we're talking to in the mobile space, they already likely have the technology in their devices, because ST's light sense module is so wide.
And of course, it's about big numbers. They can produce a lot.
Exactly. It's the scale as well that really has helped there and proving out the technology in those devices.
Okay, it's very fascinating, the technology. Where do you see it, let's say, in 5 years, Rob?
I think that really we'll end up seeing this in billions of devices. So, we're starting with this PolarID module where biometrics is the first application. We're seeing a whole new set of applications and then build off of the same hardware that you're using to unmonitor your phone. And then ultimately, we're also targeting to put this directly onto the visible sense, onto the selfie cams. So in that sense, it will make it truly ubiquitous, because now if it's on the selfie camera as well, it can be in even the lowest of low-end photos and really make this technology everywhere, where now you've given a true whole new information set to all of the machine learning algorithms that are already running on those images. You've given better quality images. You've given better quality information. So I think that's really where we see this, is enabling an entire new vision set for AI, where all of the focus to date has been building up bigger and bigger models with the same old information.
Yeah, tell you for sure that you're being noticed a lot. And do you think you see your technology in the future on iPhones, for example? Is this, I must ask the question, have you been contacted?
So it's not something that we can comment on. I think that in the end, there, any innovative company out there is going to want to have this technology in their devices because of what it can do. And Apple is certainly one of the most innovative companies out there. So
Digitopia.
it's not something we can comment on.
Just one sentence to describe your company, and what sentence that give our listener the precise idea. I mean, of course, we talked about that for 20 minutes, but if you wanted to resume what you see when you think about Metalenz.
Metalenz is bringing a whole new set of information and a whole new set of sensing to billions of people, and it's really changing the way that people and machines understand the world around them.
Thanks to Metalenz CEO Rob Devlin for sharing his insights. And that's all for this episode of MEF Podcast's Perspective, recorded at the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, where MEF brought together the brightest minds in the mobile industry. Stay tuned. From Ricardo Mati, goodbye, and good luck with your work.
Thanks for listening to Perspectives in Mobile. Join us next as we explore telecoms, technology, and mobile innovations. Stay tuned, stay connected, and let's unlock the mobile potential together.